Hey everyone, I would like to talk a bit about my vision for the cities of this new age and how they're gonna look like, and how would they look like if they really uh, are not built on this premise of we stuff as much people into them as we can, and we create a place where there's so much distraction, and companies have so much, like big companies have so much power, um, and local businesses don't have, and you can like control people very easily because they're all stuffed together and stuff like this. That's how cities work nowadays. And surely there are nicer cities where there's more nature and there's more small businesses, and where the vibe and the energy of people are a bit more free. But the foundation is still, well, it's something that's going to vanish either way, and I don't know what way exactly, but it's not there to stay for much longer. So we need to shift our focus to what do we want the foundation to be of cities of the future. And I would like to share my vision, and I would really appreciate if you would share your vision, your thoughts on this, your uh, intuition. What does your heart tell you when you ask yourself that question? And yeah, because to me, what I found out also through researching is that in many cultures there were cities, and even in those cultures where you at first wouldn't think about it, that there are actually cities, and maybe because they are so different and have such a different purpose in this society. So, for example, cities were often gathering places. They were places when people from, you know, all around the city, from many different tribes, people came to the cities and met at special times in the year. They you know they celebrated, specific times of the year. They shared their spiritual wisdom, their experiences, and just came together, and made trade and stuff like that. And and they were like, yeah, gathering in groups and like figuring out what the future should bring, and you know what part each and everyone has to play in that. And that is what I believe is, yeah, what a city should be in essence. It should be a cultural place of exchange, of coming together, of trade, of celebrations, and you know another place where people actually live, because people should live in nature. And I mean, surely there will be people, some who maintain the city and stuff, and there will be people who will uh, hear this calling, and will love also the responsibility of taking care of that, because of course that's a lot. But most people would not live in the city directly, but rather around the city. Um, Back in the days, you would say in tribes. Um, I realized that some people have an issue with that word. I personally don't. I think tribe is a very beautiful, uh, yeah, word, and it resonates with me very deeply. And yeah, but it doesn't really matter what you call it. You can call it communities or tribes or uh, I don't know, little societies. Doesn't really matter. What matters is that people are actually living in communities, really in nature, their everyday lives, and then they have the opportunity to go into the city, to exchange, to meet people, to gather, to make trade, because trade is something beautiful. And ideally, my vision is that one day we can, we can leave money, this system of money, because um, yes, right now it may be useful, but uh, it just lacks in so many things, you know. Like yes, it serves as a tool of energetic exchange, but for example, if you provide a service, the gratitude you get from a person, it's worth so much more, and everyone who really authentically knows what I'm talking about knows that this is true. Uh, of course, money gives you like this part of the energetic exchange that in our system, the gratitude alone cannot fully provide you, you know. But if we would live in a system where you wouldn't be dependent on money, you know, then you could just trade, you know, and if there's enough for everyone, you're not like, oh, but I need money now because if I don't get money for it, then you know I can't pay this or that or this or that, all these regulations and stuff like that. But if that's off the table, and it will be off the table, that's my opinion. How long? I don't know, but it will be, and then you don't need money anymore, so you can just trade freely. You know, you can be like, hey, here, I've grown these potatoes. They are so uh, very, yeah, yeah. I don't know. Potatoes, very beautiful, very, very tasty, and you know, then someone comes and maybe you know them, and maybe you're like, oh, nice, try those potatoes because you have enough of them, and why not share? You know, that's the one thing, and the other thing is maybe there's a person who's like, oh my god, that's beautiful. I actually have some strawberries I grew in my garden. Let's meet in like, I don't know, the next quarter moon, and I will come visit you and bring you a lot of strawberries, and we will have a great time. I mean, that's if you dive into that, and I know there's a person in your head saying, "Oh, it can't work. It doesn't work." Blah blah blah. If you leave that out for a moment, um, and you dive into that vision, you you can feel how human that feels, right? And you know, just someone being really grateful for something that you provide, it's enough. Not in this system. There's like, I mean, it's still worth a lot. Like if you earn a lot of money and you get no gratitude, you're gonna you're gonna be really in a bad place at some point inside of yourself. But even if you get gratitude and you really feel like you're fulfilling your purpose, there's still this little part that the system tells you you still need money. And while that is the case, it is totally fine to earn money. I'm not demonizing money, but I'm saying we just don't need it anymore at some point. That's what I believe. And yeah, right. So back to the cities, you have like a meeting place, a cultural meeting place. You know, I don't know, where people just come together to be a family, essentially. To, you know, for example, at Beltane, you come together in a city and you celebrate, you connect, because cities nowadays, even though there's so many people from so many different cultural backgrounds, there's not much connection, you know, because there's so much distraction, and because everything's so mundane. I mean, you're living in a concrete block, and not everyone, but that's what cities are, you know, going to become. It's not like surrounded in nature, beautifully handcrafted homes, with natural materials like wood or clay or something. Um, it's more like press them all together. It's almost like um, mass production, and yeah, it's not nice. It doesn't connect people. It's an illusion. It's a lie that's being told. You could say even it is gaslighting in some way. Um, yeah, because if you live a life with your tribe and in nature, and you're fulfilled, and you know, you learn how to love yourself, how to see the miracle of life, of creation, and everything that surrounds you, and then from time to time you get into the city and you really come there to connect, you know. uh, that's a whole different story, and that's what I believe cities should be about. And then a lot of permaculture, of course, even in the city, you know, a lot of green places, a lot of nature, and yeah. And one very important thing for me, if we look at cities of the new age, I mean, also it is probably important to note that, you know, there will be parts in this new age that's coming where there are no cities, they're just tribes. And, you know, maybe they have like one giant, I don't know, giant mountain where they meet, or something. But cities will always be there. Now the question is, if we have cities, on what foundation shall they rise? Shall they be built upon? And yeah, and one very important thing is that there's also, of course, then the possibility to trade with other cities, you know, and stuff like that. And that's wonderful. Trade is something beautiful. I mean, why not? Right? Um, at the core, you know, of course, it's like the concept of trade is exploited in itself nowadays, most of the time. But essentially, it is something beautiful, you know. You have something that you have more than enough of, and you trade it with someone who, uh, where they live, it's very scarce or not existent at all, and you just share. You give another person the possibility to taste or feel or see another facet of life, and that's something beautiful. Now that it is, you know, very exploited, I don't need to explain that, I think. um, but yeah, you can have trade, but very important is that it is very local. So I mean, this is almost, you know, when we dive into this vision of future cities, um, I mean, big corporations are not there anymore in my vision, like to begin with, but still, just so that it is out there, of course, local business, if you can even call it business at that point anymore. I think the word business is really hijacked uh, right now. That will change again, so maybe we can call it business then. Um, Now I lost the thread. Yeah, but you know, you can have local business, and there's no like uh, big corporations, a big industry who makes it really hard for local business, right? Good example is in the Himalayan mountains in Ladakh. It's I know this because I have watched a movie about it. It's a great movie. It's called The Economy of Happiness, and if you haven't watched it, I really encourage you to do so. It's very, yeah, it's very enlightening. It's very makes you very much aware of how much madness there is actually, and still this movie um, is not like a dystopian movie. Like it shows you, look, this is wrong, this is wrong, there's a lot going wrong, and then it goes to the solution, and that's something very, very important and valuable. So watch that movie, it's really good. Economy of Happiness. And there's this example that Laudak, it's like a place where indigenous people lived for a very long time. Very they had a lot of free time. They lived in peace. They had everything they needed, and then came the West under the a false premise, under the false flag of globalization, and you know, um, and you know, what is the word? Uh, um, Now I got it. Under the false flag of like progress and stuff, and you know, bringing people together and stuff. Like the West came, and like they, of course, they, yeah, how you say? undermined the local business, the local economy, by making the butter. It's an example, but it's actually true. It's not a made up example. The butter that is transported over, the span of days in a truck over the Himalayan mountains and sold in Ladakh is 4 times as cheap as the butter that is locally produced in Ladakh. And that's madness because the butter actually is way more expensive, because it's way more expensive to drive it, uh, with a truck somewhere where, it's totally stupid. But because it is subsidized and those corporations have so much money, they can just do it to undermine local economy. And then at one point, when local economy is kind of like dead and not existent anymore, then they can, of course, raise the prices again. Okay, that we do not want. We want local business, support of local production, and essentially that you can trade because you want to, but not because you're dependent on it, right? And everything you need to live, you have in front of your door. And it's not too expensive or something, it's affordable. It's actually free. That's the vision for those new age cities, you could say. Um, yeah, and there's a lot more, when I dive into this picture that I have, into this vision. It's like a lot of sacred geometry, and aligned with the land, and stuff like that. And it's very beautiful. And I think it's about time that we start putting our energy into those kind of visions. Um, because at one point it has to happen, and why not now, right? And even if, like, most people will say, "Oh, okay, but it's kind of unrealistic." I mean, where and when and how? Um, I don't know. I don't know how. That's not my expertise with anything I do, basically. it's uh, it's just like creating this vision, feeding it, and bringing it out there, and then the how will show up. You could say, yeah. And I'm really excited to hear your opinions, and maybe you have different visions, similar visions, maybe about another topic. Uh, I'm really interested in that. It's like it those things, they resonate with me. If people start really talking about new age and sharing their visions, and not just like, oh, the golden age is coming. Yes, it is, but what is it? Bring it out there, share it with the world, and yeah, I'm really excited to hear your thoughts on this, your yeah, your visions, your dreams, yeah, yeah. I'm excited. Peace, light, and love. Bye.